Hi everyone, Helen Blunden here. I hope you're happy, healthy and well. I thought I'd do a very short video today and show you some of the new old books that I have bought from my local Savers store. Now Savers here in Melbourne is an op shop. I don't know how you would call these shops in your own country, but in Australia, an op shop stands for opportunity shop. It is a place where you can find secondhand goods, kitchenware, white goods, clothes, books, DVDs, CDs, music, you name it, anything secondhand for a heavily reduced price. And a lot of these stores, you can find them everywhere in suburbs, are frequented a lot by people who might be struggling or those who might not be, because you never know, you can actually find a bargain or two. Now, I go to these places for books. Now, I must say that sometimes these op shops are hit and miss for books. I prefer to get books that are considered classics or literature. And in a lot of these places, the books that I see for sale for 50 cents, for $1, are the usual current books, you know, the Jeffrey Archers, Stephen Kings, and so forth. Not that I'm saying that there is anything bad with that, but my preference for books are usually found at, I guess, the more eclectic independent bookstores, secondhand bookstores, or if I go rummaging around my friends' bookshelves trying to fully see if they can offload any of their classics. But I think a lot of people hold on to their classics and their literature, which is unfortunate for people like me who's desperately trying to find some. Now, I know you could say, hey, Helen, you could download them on the Kindle, or there's Project Gutenberg and they're all free. I'm someone who actually prefers to have the book in her hand and actually take with her everywhere. I know Kindle, you can do the same too, and you can take notes on the Kindle, but there is something to do with a book that you can carry around and you can scribble on, and that you could write, you could smell, give it away to other people. I don't know, I quite like books that stack on top of each other. Enough of that. So I went to Savers, I trawled through their bookshelves. They've got a big section on classics and literature, and I go every so often just to see what is there. I think I'm the only one buying the classics and literature, but while I was there, I bought some books. They're all been less than $2. You could find bargains, and I got these. So let me go through them with you. The first one is Jean Rhys, La Grosse Fifi, a little book. Will be a quick read. This is the author behind here. You can see that the book obviously is written in the early turn of the 20th century. This book is about 4 haunting stories that capture the lives of European dilettantes, ingenues, businessmen, soldiers, and artists at a time when the world was enjoying freedom after the war, I assume the Great War. But with freedom comes greater opportunity for self-destruction, and Rhys is at her best when writing about the desires of people striving unsuccessfully after happiness. Okay, I think this is going to be an interesting read. Now, in Australia, if I see these little books, these are the little modern classics. They're short stories. You can find some really good authors this way. I've got a few of these little tiny books. It's a good way of being introduced to authors and their works. The second book I bought was So Bello, called Ravelstein. Now, this book I simply got because I recognized the name. I've not read any of his books, so I don't really know what this is about. Just reading the blurb, this was his last book that he wrote before he passed away, and it is loosely based on a true story of some conversations that happened between a philosopher and a writer. So these, I assume, will be a recollection of conversations about these two people. It does say it's a tale of philosophy, love, friendship, ancient Greek recipes, mortality, vaudeville routines, and a 4,500 suit ensues as 2 old rogues come to scrutinize their very existence. Okay, I might like this one. Let me know if you've read any of his books, and if so, which book would you recommend that I read and check out? Right, the next one is really interesting. This one is by Alain Fournier, called The Lost Estate. Now, this was translated from French. Obviously, he's a French writer, but this was his first and only novel because it was published the year before he died in the first month of World War One. So he wrote the book, and he was a soldier, and unfortunately he passed away in battle there, which is unfortunate because this would have been really interesting to see how he would have evolved as a writer. The Lost Estate, when it's translated the title from French, was the inspiration for The Great Gatsby. And in fact, this story is similar to The Great Gatsby, about someone who pines over a long lost love and he tries to find her. Now, this year, I have been reading a lot of books that were the inspirations of the classics that we know so well. For example, I recently read Yevgeny Zamyatin's We, which was the inspiration for George Orwell to write 1984. I also read The Great Gatsby, which was the inspiration for Haruki Murakami to write Norwegian Wood. This book as well, I have since learned that it was a book that has been mentioned in other literature. For example, in Jack Kerouac's On the Road, the character there carries this book around with him everywhere. And there are other references to this book in literature. So this book that inspired F. Scott Fitzgerald, The Great Gatsby, this is going to be an interesting read for me too. And just unfortunate that this poor writer had died in battle during World War One after just publishing this one book. Righto, next two books from the same author of Milan Kundera. Now he's a Czech author, and of course when you see his name you just get the book off the shelf. The only book I have of his is The Lightness of Being, which I loved, but these two books are going to be interesting. I think I'm going to like this one, which is called Identity, about a lady who has a younger boyfriend and she starts to doubt herself and her own identity as part of a couple as she ages. And I think this might be relevant simply because of, I guess, the time of life that I'm in, and maybe it would be an eye-opener. I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it will be, maybe it won't. And finally, Immortality. This one is based on, again, the theme of immortality, but at the back of the blurb, it's classified as unclassifiable. And that sometimes brings up alarm bells for me because I don't want to always read books that I find hard to get into and don't understand. It's written over, I think, 7 perspectives and all on the theme of immortality. The reviews are saying that it's profound, that it's moving, that it is attempting to work out the meaning of life. Maybe this is something that I will enjoy. It was really weird of seeing 2 Kundera novels right next to each other, so I assume that whoever they belong to, it could have been the same person. The last novel that I bought was George Saunders' Liberation Day. I have not read any of George Saunders' novels. I think he wrote one called Lincoln on the Bardo, and again, that got rave reviews, but it's not a book that I read. This one I got simply because of the name, but also the fact that it is short stories. And I don't mind reading short stories. In fact, I don't understand why short stories aren't as popular as the novels nowadays, especially when people are so starved for time and lack attention. They're reading novels, and yet a short story is something that, if it's written really well, and in the usual cases, I've read some fantastic short stories. They are super creative, written well. They give you that kind of injection of, wow, okay, that was fantastic. I think short stories, when they're written well, are more creative than novels in some cases. I'm looking forward to reading this one, George Saunders' Liberation Day. They are the books that I bought from Savers, and I think I'm going to start by reading this one, The Lost Estate, followed by Identity, followed by La Grosse Fifi, followed by Ravelstein, followed by Liberation Day, the short stories, and last of all, Immortality. I hope I've got the order right, but ultimately on the day, it really depends on whatever my hand sticks out and picks up from the shelf. Thank you for listening and thank you for watching. If you've read any of these books, please let me know in the comments below what you thought about them, or if you've read the authors and what other books they've had. Let me know also what kind of books you buy from independent booksellers or from secondhand bookstores. If you buy them secondhand, there is absolutely nothing wrong with buying books in this manner because it is cheaper and it's good for your hip pocket, and you're also helping other people and also helping the world as well. So that's it for now. Happy reading, everyone, and time to get my day started. All right then, bye for now.